What is consciousness? The live stream of consciousness is on a quest to unravel the mystery of existence. Every episode, we ask the fundamental question that has captivated human minds for centuries. Is consciousness merely a product of our brains, or does it connect us to something greater? Explore the very fabric of our thoughts. Don't miss a moment. Expand your awareness and tap into the boundless potential that resides within you. Welcome to the live stream of consciousness.
Yes. Welcome to the live stream of consciousness. I'm Michael Zinn, and the live stream of consciousness is my happy place. Just a broadcast that connects people together, engages in some great conversations, and just thrives on the energy of everybody involved. So thank you for being here as well. If it's your first time here, welcome. I guess I don't usually do the normal YouTube guy stuff like, hey, subscribe and all of that. But if you like what you're seeing here week to week, and you can decide at the end if you haven't been here yet, just please support the show and share the broadcast. I think there's ways to share the broadcast on YouTube and on Facebook, all of that stuff. Ninja Kitty's out there. It's happy place time indeed. Very excited. What do you think of that new intro? I brought Jesse back in a way, right? The spirit of Jesse is back in the form of a voiceover. And I just thought the show needed a little bit of a description at the beginning for the audio side, for the podcast side, because the podcast starts, it's just music, and then we start talking. So I did that for that reason, just trying to use my head and use the platform and spread the word of being connected and being part of the live stream of consciousness. So here we go. It is Thursday, May 25th. Holy moly, right? The year is going quickly. You got confused, Ninja Kitty? The voice confused you, the voiceover? You thought Jesse was back? He is kind of back. For those of you don't know, Jesse Blaze Snyder was one of the original co-hosts of the live stream, and he's on the West Coast now doing some stuff. So I took over, and it's just been me and my amazing guests. And I have another amazing guest for you guys tonight. I'm excited about. Let me pop up the banner. Her name is Andrea Mason, and I discovered her, I think she just started popping up in my feed just because the algorithm was feeding me, positive speak, people who were talking about positive things and empowering yourself by being yourself, that kind of thing. And I started looking at her content, and I thought she was pretty cool, and I liked what she had to say. And so we got in touch somehow. She has her own podcast. I don't even remember the events that unfolded, but that's how it happens when you meet people. And I was on her show, and I invited her to be on this show. I don't know who did that first, but we knew that we had to speak to each other. So finally, I put her on the calendar, and she is here tonight. And welcome to the live stream of consciousness, Andrea Mason. And how are you doing?
Hello, Michael. How are you doing? I think it was the stars were in alignment. The universes has bonded us together of like-mindedness, of tapping into the higher self, the greater good, the power, and here's where we are today.
Here we are, yeah, together. Awesome. I'm really glad that you said yes to come on the show, and I'm excited to talk to you about what you do. You are an accountability coach.
Yes.
You are a motivational speaker now.
Yes.
Internationally, was it international?
Globally, yes. I was a student of alumna of the legendary Dr. Les Brown.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we connected, and he's been on with me a few times. I met him in person in August. I did his academy. And it just launched from there. I just wanted to help people, man, was my mission when the world broke down and shut down. And I said, I need a sign. And ask, believe, receive. It happened. And here I am before you.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I think there's something to be said for that idea that, you find your tribe, your vibe. You start to tune into your own frequency, and then all of a sudden people who are at that frequency start to, resonate with you, and you start to meet people, and you start to recognize that you're resonating at that same frequency. All of that stuff, like we were talking about, kind of falls into place. And yeah, that's awesome. I want to talk more about that. Ninja saying welcome, Andrea.
Thank you. Welcome.
Is it Andrea or Andrea?
Neither. It's Andrea.
Andrea.
Yes,
Okay.
my elder matriarchs called me Andrea, but that's usually when I was in trouble. Andrea is the male version of it. All in all, it means warrior and love.
Nice.
Great. It's all great.
Andrea, nice. Well, welcome. So the quiet healer is out there. She says hello. So I do want to talk about who Les Brown is and your experience with that, and how you became who you are. Tim is out there saying hello. But we've got to do some business first. I call it business. It's not really business. It's fun. It gets us into the vibe. And that is to answer the basic question on the live stream of consciousness is, what is consciousness? Everybody's got a little bit of a different answer, but they all seem to fit together.
Sure. So I see consciousness as several quadrants. It's an alignment of mind, body, spirit, and soul. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to go to the religious realm. It doesn't necessarily have to go to the spiritual realm, but it's a frequency. It's a frequency that elevates your mind to tap into your subconscious. It elevates your spirit to just soar and connect with like-minded individuals such as yourself. And then your soul. We say when we cross over, when we go to that next dimension, our souls usually go with us. But I believe that every part of us is a soul that has been before. And the reason I say that is because, just a little bit background, I was born during the war-torn drug zone era during the cartel in Colombia.
Oh, wow.
And I was adopted. So my parents were unable to care for themselves at that time, let alone me. And I came to America at 11 months old, weighing in at only 11 pounds. So I was that child on the TV with the distended stomach and barely, barely surviving.
Right. Wow.
But I feel that the internal me of my ancestors, of my spirits, the guidance or whatever has really empowered me, because I was able to become a survivor 3 times thus far in such a short period of time in life. And I truly believe it started like my family was very religious. And so they would always say, say your prayers, just do your best and, go forth. But when you talk about consciousness, to go back to the basic question, is that awareness, that acknowledgement, and then making the adjustment and adaptation to apply going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's a great answer. You said so many things there we could expand upon, for sure. And it's interesting to me. We definitely talk to a lot of people who kind of have gone through these very adverse situations in order to kind of see that and reach that spirituality. And I do think that's important to kind of show the resilience, of that human spirit, of that spirit that you're talking about, and you also mentioned that it's kind of a combination of mind, body, spirit, and soul.
Yes.
And that it didn't have to be religious or spiritual, and I agree with that. I mean, I'm not big into the terminology of like, hey, I'm on a spiritual journey, right? To me, what is that? That is life, right? Life is a spiritual journey. It is learning, it is growing, it is changing, it is discovering all of these things. So I agree, it doesn't need to. I don't even, when people ask me what my beliefs are, religious or spiritual, it's like it's a feeling.
Yes.
It's just a feeling, it's just a knowing. So yeah, perfect. I love that answer. You also kind of opened me up to the next question when you said something about when we pass on, going to the next dimension. So knowing that you believe that there is this other dimension. Is
Yes.
there a story or a memory that you have when you suddenly realized, wait a second, there are things out there that are beyond kind of what I've been taught in school and the basic three-dimensional existence around me?
Absolutely. I mean, I have several stories, but I'll kind of pinpoint it kind of in a nutshell, if you will. So I went to public school, and like I mentioned, being adopted, I had different features from my adoptive parents. I was from South America. They were born and raised in America. So I didn't have much. So I was a victim of bullying and abuse. And then I was just like, how could somebody be that way, if you will, and experience that if there isn't a lesson? From every loss, there's a lesson. From every pain, there's a gain. From every obstacle, there's an opportunity. And so I remember being 13 years old and losing my first immediate family member, my paternal grandmother, and grandfather on my father's side. And I was just like, I should be there. Why should they do that? That shouldn't be an opportunity. And when I tapped into that, I was just kind of like, that was weird. Like, why would I think of that at age 13?
Right.
And then every consecutive year, unfortunately, somebody had passed. But as I gotten more in tune with it, I'll never forget, I believe it was in 2016, my family was going to Disney World. And as soon as I stepped off the bus, Michael, I felt a thump in my chest. And I was like, oh no. I texted my cousin and I said, did my family member pass? And she said, how did you know? You're supposed to be on vacation, the most magical place on earth.
Wow.
And I felt it.
Wow.
And just ever since then, tapping into those signs, a lot of people, one of the cliches is, oh, it's a coincidence, or, oh, deja vu. Oh, I think I've been here before. Ladies and gentlemen, this is something that we've mastered and had, but somehow, some way along the timelines, or what I believe is a different dimension or timeline that we've been on. And once we tap into that, I mean, I can go on about different visions and premonitions that I've had. If I know somebody, or I remember we were in Ireland one time, and I said to the person we were traveling with on the tour, I said, just want to know, when did you finish the academy and what made you stop being a police officer? And the person was just like, wait, what? And so my family said, yeah, she has that sense, that sixth sense ability.
Right.
And ladies and gentlemen, we can tap into it. And what I've been able to learn is, if you're just still and you're able to kind of peel back the layers and threads of your experiences, you'll understand some sort of way, whether it's our subconscious, our conscious, or that extra skill that we barely tap into because of taboo or society frowns upon it, crazy, witch, whatever. We have the capability. And when you are ready and prepared to utilize it in the proper way, in the positive way, it's a beautiful thing. And like I was telling Michael before, sometimes it's kind of like, now there's no turning back.
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful experience.
Right.
Yeah.
It really is. It's I think, for me, the connection was even more basic at some point, very similar, which is just all of the different things in my life that I've been interested in, music and computers and art, and all the things that I was interested in.
Right.
All, as I grew up, it was like each one of those things got me an opportunity to do something, and they all started connecting. As I realized I was getting older, I was like, oh wait, I was doing this, but that connects with this, and now I'm doing this. And then it's like, oh, well, that's because that's who I am. I'm the sum of all of these experiences and all of these, skills that I built up along the way. And that makes me who I am. And that also allows me to get into those opportunities and situations that I get into, and respond to them the right way too, So, but that's always a work in progress, right? I mean, even you're never like done. You're never like, well, now I know how to do everything. And, there's still new situations that you've got to experience and and grow. And this is something that's been kind of the theme for me in my life. It works in waves. So the universe kind of gives me messages for like a bunch of weeks at a time. Like this specific message is like a theme.
Yeah.
The theme now is kind of get out of the comfort zone, right? Which, because we all love the comfort zone because it's
Right.
comfortable. That's why it's called the comfort zone. And I think we all strive to create a comfort zone.
Mhm.
But the problem with that is once you get into that comfort zone, you're not going to grow until you get out of that comfort zone.
Right.
You know what I mean? And if you're not growing, why exist?
Right, exactly. And we are creatures of comfort. It's just easy to be comfortable rather than to excel and thrive. I mean, think about
Mhm,
it.
mhm,
Would you rather just kind of settle for less or thrive for more?
mhm.
It's the beauty of the option and the choice that we have as human beings. We're the only species that, you know, we burn our hands and we'll do it again and do it again and do it again. And oh yeah, well, it's all right. Oh, that always happens when I cook something, or that always happens when I go to that place, or I'm
Right.
always late. We have an opportunity to create whatever we choose if we really put our mind to it. I'm a huge fan of, I'll just do a little plug here of The Secret.
Oh
You
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Thoughts become things, and our
Absolutely.
frequency, it starts when we're children. Think about it. When we're children,
Mhm.
when you're on the playground and all of a sudden one of your friends goes, I have to go to the bathroom. Well, now I have to go to the bathroom. Well, now I have to go to the bathroom. I mean, it's as simple as that. But when we tailor make it to what is our frequency, what is our emotion,
Mhm,
I mean, it's both sides of the coin. Misery loves company
mhm,
and joy loves camaraderie, and the
mhm,
more the merrier.
mhm,
So, what is your frequency? What is your level of consciousness that you're bringing
mhm.
to a table, to a conversation, to a room, or to
Right,
your life?
right,
And we have those butterflies of stepping outside of our comfort zone.
right,
But as Michael said, that's stepping outside of your comfort zone. That's the twinge of change,
right.
transformation,
That's where you're
and
gonna
just
grow.
the next level you can go to. I mean, just think about it. What we can create. Dreams are to be creating destinations, not to have deadlines.
Right. Absolutely. No, absolutely. And that this is all great segue into who you are and what you do. And you were talking about Dr. Les Brown. So
Yeah.
that's something that you mentioned. That was one of the first things I heard you mention. You're an alumna of Les Brown. So you're obviously very proud of
Yes.
the impact this man has had on your life. So tell me who my audience and everybody who Les Brown is and what drew you to him and
Absolutely. It's all about consciousness. So Les Brown, well, Dr. Les Brown, at the time he was Mr. Les Brown. He's probably one of the most successful motivational speakers worldwide. Are you hungry? And when the world shut down, as an empath and as an extrovert, I didn't know what to do. And I remember thumbing through the feed of social media, which I really didn't want to because I unplugged from everything. Talk about frequency. I
Mhm,
unplugged and I invested everything, whether it was what I wanted to listen to, what I wanted to eat, music I wanted to listen to, what articles I wanted to read. And I came through the feed and it said, and a familiar voice came and it said, are you going through it or are you growing through it?
mhm,
Boom. That resonated with me, just what we talked a few moments ago. And I said, no, I
mhm,
need to grow. I was established as someone who dedicated over 2.5 decades and degrees in social work and psychology.
mhm,
And
mhm,
I exceeded where I wanted to go, but then the infrastructure and the political realms, and it just wasn't going in the way I wanted to go as a victim from my childhood.
mhm,
So
mhm,
I changed my direction, I changed my channel, and I said, you know what? I'm going to take my stories and I'm going to motivate people of personal experiences, a woman of integrity, a woman of authenticity.
mhm,
And so the feed said, act now and you'll be part of his academy. It was virtual. And I
mhm,
said, what's the best way to learn than going to the greats? So
mhm,
that was my very first ever investment in my life to myself. It was a
mhm, mhm,
selfish and selfless act,
mhm, mhm,
twofold. And I just learned so much. We were both fellow adoptees. We didn't know our parents, and it was just the alignment of the frequency and our mission and our message was so pure. So I wanted to learn from him. And then a year later, once I graduated, I was able to meet him in person with my family, shake his hand, talk to him. And then just been, an amazing journey since then. I've been able to speak on every continent. I was just shy of Antarctica, Michael. I was supposed to speak on Antarctica with somebody who was
Really
with the penguins, and then the time difference or whatever just didn't sync, and I didn't make it. So that is next on my list.
Wow.
I've just been able to help people. I've just been able to utilize.
So you've talked physically in the onset on
virtually every single.
But internationally, amazing.
Yes.
So
Yes.
amazing.
I've been able to, speak with the first lady before of Pakistan.
Wow.
I was scheduled to be on her show, and stuff happened.
Right.
But I've mentored men and women and children in the Middle East and Africa. I actually, one of my family members was able to see me live on TV virtually. And they were like, "What are you doing on TV?"
That's
so
really cool.
It's just been an amazing level of consciousness. I'm not this categorized in the box individual. I always want to be creative. I always want to be innovative, and I want to take risks. All my life, I've always took risks because my life was constantly failing forward. Everything I did was failing. I was not doing well in school because of the bullying and abuse. I was not doing good in relationships, bullying and abuse. Right. And so with every failure, I've had a level of consciousness of the lesson, what the takeaway was.
It seems like, you were saying that earlier, and it seems like you realized that at a young age that situations were really meant for you, meant to help you, give you a lesson. Like if something about the situation felt like it was supposed to be giving you a lesson, it was, know, and
it was rough going through it, but
I'm
able to say, like Steve Jobs says, connect the dots. Going forward, not backward, not going forward. You're able to see why every incident was preparing you for the next level.
Right.
And although people were like, how can one person go through all of this? I see it as because this is what I need to teach others. I need to help others. I need to be a living testimony for others. So I look back, and it was always a greater, bigger challenge. But, I know the cliche and some, beliefs are, you wouldn't be given this challenge if they didn't believe that you can achieve it. And so that's how I see the perspective of it.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I guess, the religious version of that is God won't give you more than you can handle. Right. That's the thing.
Correct.
And it's interesting because part of my journey has been really kind of coming to terms with language. And even the word God itself, was such a block for me because of its tie to religion. But once I was able to untie the word God from religion, it gave me so much more peace. I understood it so much more, I mean, and I understood even, my views of religion, certain aspects of religion, and aspects of non-religion, like and aspects of spirituality, all of it all ties together. I started to, what started the live stream of consciousness was really the diverse amount of people I was meeting and really resonating and getting close with. I was talking to you earlier, psychic mediums, Akashic records, very metaphysical people with different modalities. And to me, it all felt the same. I felt all of those people on the same vibration, even though they were very different. And like you said, every single one of those people would say exactly what you said, that whatever it is that they're doing, we all have the ability to do. We all have the ability to tap into being a psychic medium and talking to spirits, if that's where we want to tune our frequency to.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's not like we have to tune our frequency there, but I think the idea of consciousness and knowing that that's there, and just being like, okay, I don't need to know more about it than I know it's there.
Right. And that's amazing you mentioned that, because I've been very cognizant and conscious with my words. Because if you think about it, words are spells. It's very particular on how you use the words loosely or intentionally, and also the root and the stem of what the actual meaning of the word has. I mean, you just take a random statement anywhere, and then you look up each origin of the word. You're like, wow, wow. So that's what they meant. You know what I mean? And it's really tapping into that consciousness, as well as, with me also, I've also been able to tap into, which a lot of people don't think they can, but I'm glad you mentioned it, is healing people remotely. That love, that unconditional love. And as I learned about empathy, because I didn't understand it, I was like, why am I getting exhausted when it's both positive empathy and negative? It drains you. And I go back to the story, the movie, if you will, of Ghost, how when Whoopi Goldberg goes into the body, and then or the gentleman, when she's doing a reading or a connection, spiritual connection,
right,
gentleman wants his turn with the family member. And it was just like, wow. And I didn't understand it then, but I am cognizant of that now. That's why I literally had to unplug from 2015. Like, literally, it's a joke. My family and friends truly believe I live under a rock, because, some think it's hysterical. Hey, by the way, did you know who passed away? Or did you know this was going on? No, because my whole intention is the mission and message of rise and unite, not conquer and divide. In the crazy game of life, learn how to play life, plan life according to you. We are the pilot, the driver, if you will, of our own vehicle. And we can have it as bittersweet to as rough as it can be, by tapping into our consciousness, just by making a choice. And as I learned today too, not making a choice and not doing anything is also a choice.
Absolutely. Hat Pauser is out there and says, hi, yes, RJ Spina has been talking a lot about spelling yourself. And that's funny that was the comment that came in, because that was in my head. The thought was brewing, and I was processing what you said about words being spells. And I have heard that said before. I've heard it said that way, and I certainly do believe that, and I feel like I try to practice that, like be very, very cognizant of the words I use, how to, especially talking to other people, and how you talk to other people, right? And how you talk to yourself, which is also very important too. So I just want to kind of expand on that, the power of words, the power of language. The story that I've told my audience many times before is just answering the question when someone says to you, hey, how you doing? And you say, I'm doing awesome. Like, that opens up a whole new dynamic. All of a sudden it's like, whoa, wait a second. What's this all about? You know what I mean? And that's just really important. So I guess, there's no, I'm trying to think of a question, but there is no real question. It's just awesome to talk to people who are aware of those things in conversation, that, okay, everything that I'm saying has this important, this energy surrounding it, that it's like, my energy, I got to do it this way, my energy is going to go, to you. And how that's so powerful. How powerful is that? That when you're aware of it, really what you want to do is make other people feel good, right? And so that's the response that comes back to you,
right. And as you had mentioned, musically inclined, there was an 80s or 90s, I'm like dating myself, but in Aerosmith, he's like, I'm fine, and in the cassette cover it's bleeped up, insecure, neurotic, emotional. When fine doesn't mean that. When the acronym that he talks about, in the song, I forgot what song it was, but he talks about, everything is fine. And then he does the acronym. And that's when I got really, really, a lot of people joke how I should be like a slogan writer, because I take the acronyms of words. Words can be weapons of wisdom. And another thing that I learned, it's not what you say. But one of my bosses at the time was just, and I speak about this in my videos and my coaching, is it's not what you say, it's a presentation. And I didn't understand it at first. And they said, well, everybody talks about how grand surf and turf is, lobster and steak, right? Pardon the vegans out there. But you could have a 5-star restaurant and you can order surf and turf, but if it's on a paper plate or a dirty plate, you're not going to eat it.
Right.
Be mindful and cognizant of your audience. Be mindful and cognizant of your tonality, your nonverbal cues, your body language. Because as I see here, thank you for the comment, especially I want or I need. Definitely very powerful. And one of the things that I do have started a long time ago is not doing the casual salutation. I always say, I'll see you later. I'll see you soon. Or my great uncle, I'll see you when I see you. Because that 3-letter word begins with the B, ends with an E, is so finite.
Right.
So I never say that. I'll say, oh, have a good one. Have a great day.
Yeah.
I'll see you when I see you. Because it's truly taps into our subconscious.
Right.
But for those individuals who are tapping into their conscious, I am very, very, very particular with my words.
Right. You know, and I just realized as you were talking about that, something that I do, and I think I'm not saying I don't mean it. I do mean it authentically when I say it. But when I see someone, when someone's like comes into the studio or whatever it is, I very often am saying, it's so good to see you.
Awesome.
And now I'm realizing, like, I'm saying that to set up that energy, to be like, to make that person feel good, like, you know, that I'm happy that they're there.
Yes.
And so they're happy that they showed up.
Right.
You know,
and it's also can be countertransference, because how many times I remember to have one job, it was like, you can have a person who comes in, I can't think of the terminology, so I'm going to paraphrase, pardon, ladies and gentlemen, but some people enter a room and make it glorious, but some people make it glorious by leaving the room. You know what I mean? It's something on that scope. And it's just like, I have now been able to be so cognizant of my presence and feel the energy that I know, I'm going to wait a few minutes to go in that room, because it's kind of tension. It's kind of toxic. Right. Or even the nonverbal cues I mentioned before, just smiling, you know, I want everybody just to kind of, who's watching or on playback, say the word happy without smiling. You can't. And just saying, you know, it's kind of like the camera saying cheese. Right. It's an innate I don't like saying program, but it's a preset that happy, you're smiling. Right. And how many times I've actually learned through customer service and corporate, saying, I do this a lot, and it takes people back, especially now when I speak to somebody on the phone for customer service. I'm like, thank you for smiling. And they're like, what? And they're like, I'm on a call.
That's awesome.
Energy.
I like that.
You know, and I usually address them, hey, how are you doing today? Because they're ready to go in their spiel, or what do you need? And I'm like, right. Hey, Sally, how are you doing today? And there's an uncomfortable pause. And they're like, you know what? I'm good. Or I'm kind of tired. So I feed off of that. So that kind of goes to in alignment with what you said. It's so good to see you.
Yeah.
Practicing and presetting that energy, that frequency, that level of consciousness. Yeah. Hey, we're in a safe space. I'm happy you're here. You're happy to be here. Let's connect.
Yeah, totally. And like I said, it's not like only doing it for that reason to make them feel away. It's also setting my intention. You know what I mean? It's like I'm saying it, so I'm feeling it as I'm saying it. You know.
And I love that word, intention. We need to be more mindful of acting with intention, not with interruption or, you know, isolation.
Right. Absolutely.
Everything we do, there must be a way of positive intention. You know what? I'm here in the moment to be present. And the greatest gift and the greatest present is my time.
Absolutely. And especially I think when you're interacting and connecting with a group, it's like be present with that group. You're not just in your own head, like you're
yes,
you know.
Absolutely.
And that's what I love about this platform. I love being able to talk to people and connect with them, and then like really be like, wait a second, tell me more about this, tell me more about that.
Right.
And it's like you know, that it was, you were talking about 2015, and it probably, that's a little early, but it probably started back then, where social media just started to become this land of division, right? You know, people, anything anyone said, that was an opportunity for someone to be offended or to argue with them, and you know what I mean. And when I found this platform, and immediately that's what it did. It was like connecting people in a way to talk and share that connection, you know, because
Right.
that's energetic, right? The part of the live stream of consciousness, I think, is energetic.
Absolutely.
You
And
know,
that's what the one of the things is when I talk about changing channels, shifting gears, shifting your energy. I want people to think about this, especially the younger generation, or like me, the older one, still learning how to use social media.
yeah,
A great motivational speaker says, energy goes where focus flows. Think about that. Energy flows where focus goes. And so if you've got a support system, whether or not they're bots or not, or legitimate people, why do we tend to shift to that one thumbs down as
right,
opposed to those 330,000 or 3 hearts and positive emojis?
right,
It's all about frequency.
right,
You have a choice,
right.
a
But
conscious
I
choice.
have no doubt that you do respond with hearts and love
Yes.
and
Yes.
happiness and joy. And you're right. There is this other contingency of the population who just
Mhm.
find it real easy to, you know, close up and hit the dislike button
Mhm.
and all of these things, you know. And I think fortunately people are starting to realize how it feels. You know,
Yeah.
we're like, wait, this doesn't feel good. I don't like this, and they're starting to wake up. But I think it's
Yes.
this kind of thing, discussions like this, that make people say, wait a second, maybe I am doing that. And that's kind of a good segue into what you do as far as being an accountability coach, because that's something that I feel like is uh, it's not like it's not been around probably forever, but I think currently in the day of self-help, which is a good thing, people are looking for resources
Right.
to get out of what they've just been in, you know, because of that comfort zone thing. You know, people are kind of stuck in like, well, this is the way it is, right? Well,
That statement
oh
irks me.
yeah,
It is what it is. I can't. My energy just shifted.
I saw it. I saw it happen. I'm sorry. I didn't mean
I
to,
cannot take that.
upset you. I totally didn't mean to upset you. Jesse,
No,
how
no,
are
no, not
you?
at all.
Welcome back.
11:11.
Good to
Yes,
see you.
that's me. Yeah.
um yeah, I just saw that affect you. That's really
It's a
really funny.
twinge because I used to think that way.
Yeah,
I used to play the blame game. I used to hold other people accountable
right,
for my mistakes, my shortcomings, my environment.
right,
And ladies and gentlemen, victims and victorious, I'm not living that life anymore, but I'm the living testimony that the choice. How many times when we look in the mirror, let's be real, if we want to be really deep and conscious, we get in our own way.
mhm,
We are the only ones that are going to be making the decisions. And when we tap into, wait a minute, everything I could do, I don't have to take personal. I can
right,
actually do something with it. I can actually have a choice. There is freedom. There is an other side of the coin. There are more options than A and B. That's what I bring to the table with accountability. I
yeah,
don't dictate. It's not my life. I don't lecture. People
right,
don't have the time attention span as it is.
right,
I
right,
don't guide because I wouldn't put you outside of your comfort zone. I walk beside you and you say, Andrea, this is what I want. And I say, let's go.
mhm,
And I do check in, whatever is tailor made for them. I have somebody I check in every hour.
mhm. Wow,
Hey, how are you doing? I have somebody I see every 4 months, every once a year.
sure,
I hold them accountable without the guilt, without the reprimand. And the beautiful thing, Michael, is I just show up.
right,
And a lot of people don't have that now.
sure,
And if they're virtual, they're living with those naysayers, those predators, those non-believers, or even when you think about it as virtual digital content creators, when fade goes to black, when screen goes to black, all you have is your thoughts.
mhm,
And that can be a fearful place. And
yeah,
I'm just saying, you know what? I just want to help people, man.
yeah.
I'm here to listen, unconditional love, learn, and walk beside you.
Well, you said some important things that I think probably are part of what makes you successful in what you're trying to do, and that is everybody's different, right? So you said there's one person that you talk to every hour because that's the vibe. That's what you feel like
Mhm.
need, and that's how it's going to work with them. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
Yeah.
then people you talk to every 4 months, and
Yeah.
and that's really important. I think I think that's a part of consciousness too, being aware of how you're interacting with people, navigating those relationships. That's been a huge thing
Yeah.
for me for the last year and a half. But you said something else that was important, and that was the energy. You're talking about people who don't realize, that they're kind of stuck in these. I think
Mhm. Mhm.
having gone through that, and both you and I can
Mhm.
relate to this.
Yeah.
It's much easier to have compassion, right, for
Mhm.
people who are stuck in that. I'm not going to say the phrase again that made you so uncomfortable, but
I felt it. It's okay. I
that
moved on.
that mindset, right?
Yes.
You don't like it, and it makes you uncomfortable, you and me,
Right.
because we know we've been there and it's not right.
Right.
It also allows us to be compassionate to those people, and I think that's what allows you to be the healer that you are.
Mhm.
And me too. I don't consider myself that. However, I do know that that is a part of who I am, and
Mhm.
I do affect some people, right?
Right.
Everyone's different. So some people are just, they're kind of already tuned into whatever it is that I'm putting out, and they're like, oh, I like that. That makes me feel good. I
Right.
relate to that. But you also said something that inspired me, in a way to maybe market who I am, uh,
Mhm.
and actually be a healer, and offer something to people that isn't
Mhm.
necessarily packaged that way, uh, as a spiritual healer, but love healer. Like I heal with love. I don't
Yeah.
heal with, my girlfriend does Reiki. I don't heal
Oh,
with
wow.
Reiki. I don't connect you to your dead relatives, but I love you.
Yeah. And
And
that's the
that's real.
greatest energy. That's the most positive energy. But think of how difficult that is.
Yeah,
For me, I lost my mom. I lost my other mom. It's like I question, how do I love? What is love?
right.
And this universal language, I was going to add on to yours is your your soul, your spirit through music. It's the
Mhm,
universal language. I
mhm,
mean, how many can throw on Danzig or like, Guns N' Roses when they're mad, then put on Beethoven when they're peaceful,
mhm,
or nature sounds? It's just that frequency of
mhm,
consciousness.
mhm.
And
Right,
in a world where we think we're so different, virtually I've been around, we want to be loved. We want to be understood. We want to be heard. That's the
right.
underlying thread. And Jim Carrey says, all you need to know is the currency, find out what people need
Mhm.
and provide that. And the effect you have on others is the greatest currency.
Absolutely.
Paraphrased.
Yeah.
And I just see that with the world. There's so much heartache out there. And my question to the individuals out there, are you being part of the solution or are you being
Mhm,
part of the problem?
mhm, mhm.
And again, it goes back to choice. Do you say when somebody says I'm upset, do you join them in misery? Yeah, well, let's have a war. Well, I went through this and I went through this. It's not about war stories.
Right.
It's about what you said, love,
Right.
healing, understanding,
Right.
connecting. All of the greatest successful stories started out with understanding and starting out with a relationship of connection.
Mhm.
Conscious of somebody else can feel what you've been through. We all have a book of life. It's
Sure.
just a matter of what chapter we're in, we're stuck in, or we're ready to turn the page.
Right.
And when
Absolutely.
we're younger, our story is told to us. But it's at what point, and one point, you must take the pen in your own hand and start writing your own.
Mhm, mhm. Absolutely. So I have an interesting question. What do you say to someone, because I know you understand it and I know I understand it and I
Mhm,
know it seems so simple, right? But what do you just say to somebody who says, I am the way that I am
mhm,
in response to the world around me. In
Okay.
other words, they're not necessarily taking accountability for their
Right.
actions, and they're saying,
Mhm.
I'm not choosing to be the way I am. It's
Mhm.
just a response that I have. Well, like,
Right.
what are some of the tools you use to get through that?
Absolutely. I mean, it goes through a couple of cliche statements, a couple of speeches. It's like, is that what you want to be remembered for?
Mhm,
What is the legacy of love you're building?
mhm,
And are you go to the basic? Are you happy that way? Are
mhm,
you okay with that way? Do you see that there's a light at the end of the tunnel? Do you see that there's a possibility that it can be so much better? Because truth be told, you're here another day.
mhm,
Look at you now from last week,
mhm,
last year, 5 years ago. And usually when I go to that core, all right, you're okay the way things are? Cool. Where were you then? Well, how come you weren't like that then now?
mhm.
And then the wheels start turning. Wait a minute, I did shift. I'm no longer using, or I'm no longer in an angry or hard relationship, or I'm no longer financially strapped.
Right,
Something shifted. And it goes to, if nothing changes, nothing changes.
right.
So for those individuals that are stuck, I've been there several times. I still go there every now and again. Ask yourself, well, where was I yesterday? Where was I then?
Mhm, mhm,
Is it really as bad as it is? Because I did something to give me another day.
mhm.
We don't have that timestamp of our way out.
Right,
But as my mentor says, make the rest of your life the best of your life. Why not?
right, right,
Why not? Why wouldn't you? So you're consciously
right.
choosing to be stuck.
All right, so
That's what
let's talk about synchronicity, because I was thinking about responding to you with that, and we got a comment from Tim that says,
oh, okay.
I've been writing my own life for quite a while, but I'm definitely writing my best chapter of my life now." And I
Awesome.
think that
Glad to hear.
that comes from the fact that you weren't aware back then or taking
Mhm.
accountability for writing your life. You were
Right.
just like, oh, life is happening to me. All of this
Yeah.
stuff is happening to me, right? And then
Right.
it's like when you realize, wait a second, here's the pen. I have the pen. What's going to happen next? I
Yeah.
can actually write this down and make this
Mhm.
happen. And there you go. I'm writing my life now, right?
Yes.
And you're not going to write all of those horrible things. You may write them. I think you write them to help other people and to kind of, document it and say, hey, this is what got me to where I'm at. And I love, as much as people like yourself,
Mhm.
I know quite a few people who have tell me these insane stories about coming from
Mhm.
other countries and being adopted into cults, and like,
Mhm.
all of these crazy stories, and they are the most loving and amazing people, and you would think, oh my god, they must, they would hate the world, but they use that and they turn that around, and
Mhm.
they saw what it meant to them, and that's like, again, life wasn't happening to you, it was happening for you to
Yeah.
become who you are now,
Yeah.
right?
And it's funny, I just I'm not an avid reader. I do audiobooks, and
Uh-huh.
I just finished Green Lights and the road trip with the Art of Living of Matthew McConaughey. And I
Oh,
loved
the
it.
new
I
one,
actually saw his speech
yeah.
to the class, but he's like, if you really want to make it simple, it's not easy, but like we said, simple.
Mhm,
Find out what you don't want, and then
mhm,
you find out who you are.
mhm,
So those individuals, I have several in my life.
mhm, mhm,
And I say, all right, so what is it that you don't want? Because when we say, what do you want? It's like an interview. What are you good at?
right,
We don't focus on that, right? Oh,
right,
I stink at this. So think about it this way. Here's a simple tool. Okay, well, my life is that phrase. Okay, cool. What don't you want to happen? Well, I don't want this. I don't want this. Okay. So why don't we start taking action to prevent that?
right.
What? I can do that? Yeah. If you don't want that, what is the action?
What gets you there? Yeah. And what's
Right. And that's really what we have to focus on, because again, we are in an area, in a time where we're so quick to just be waiting to be told what to do
mhm, mhm,
and not question. I was that kid in school that got beat on the playground. And that's why I hated recess, because I don't get it. I don't get it. Remember that movie Big, where he like goes to the corporate and he's like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
I ask questions, but I ask questions because either I didn't understand, I wanted to know more, or I was just using my higher level of consciousness. Well, why? Why does it have to be that way? Or how did they come to that?
Right. Right.
And the more we ask questions, you might not be happy with the answers, but the more we're creating opportunity, innovation, and imagination to bring us to the next level.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And it's amazing. Again, I think, talking to people like you and different people that I talk to versus kind of people who, like, how many people are in toxic relationships, right? Because they just again, that statement that you hate, they just that's what they think, right?
Yeah, that's all I deserve. That's the best I can get. Really?
Right. And it's really sad, because a lot of times, especially when you are a little bit more aware, you see that, you're like, oh my God, you feel so bad for people, and you're like, how do you stay in that relationship? I can remember, even my mom and my stepdad early on. My dad went through a little bout of alcoholism, and he's sober now. Been sober for probably, oh my gosh, like 20 years.
Awesome.
It's been a long time. But watching that relationship, I was like, why would you stay in that relationship, when people are interacting the way they are? I don't even have to say more. I don't have to be specific, other than say, the interactions were not pleasant. The words that went back and forth, everything that we were talking about, there wasn't that love intention behind it. There was something else behind it,
And I can speak to that as, my my earlier life. It was just filling that void. And it was so crazy when I share my stories with people, because they're like, first of all, the area that I grew up in was like Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. Everybody knew each other's name. Our family was pretty normal. You had how you had a few spats, but pretty normal, where, if I got hurt, by the end of the weekend, everybody in my family knew about it. If I got hurt on the soccer field.
Right.
But then it's just like, well, if you grew up in our family, I think there was only 1 or 2 divorces in our entire family. And you're like, okay, that's good, but weird. And then you go to me, and I was in abusive after abusive relationships, or I was, looking love in the wrong places. And they're like, well, how you had parents? They're actually, they're, God rest my mom's soul, but today would have been, 55 years married today.
Wow.
So this is awesome. And
Happy anniversary.
Yeah. And so I looked at them, and I was like, wow, it's like a fairy tale. But then people are like, well, Andrea, why did you take so long to find your own relationships? And it goes back to, they talk about nature and nurturance, that the first 7 years is nature of your surroundings and environment. And then the nurturing kicks in 7 on. So think about it. Cartel, explosives, drug, gangs, and all that stuff was all I known subconsciously as an infant. But it still has an implant in my mind somewhere.
Sure. Yeah.
So I was always like, well, and I remember when I was told I was adopted at 7 years old, they would be like, well, if your mom and dad didn't want you, how are you going to love anyone? How could you love anyone?
Right.
Just the seed planted. So I was always looking for, the grass is always greener, or I would look for a relationship that I knew wouldn't last and self-sabotage and get in my own way. I would either end it before it got bad, or, oh, it's just one time. Oh, it'll happen again.
Right.
It's fine, until you get that level of consciousness, like, it doesn't have to be this way. I can make a difference. I can make that shift. I can change the curse, that some people say, the family curse or the relationship curse. When you tap into your consciousness, and ladies and gentlemen, it could be as simple as 3 to 5 seconds, just sitting with your thoughts in silence, or even having some light music, just tapping into stillness. a lot of things, and I'm getting emotional just thinking it, because in the still and silence of your mind is when it's so powerful,
Mm-hmm.
because you really tap into the checks and balances, weighing the options, and look at the opportunities that preside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm imagining you meditate, or
Mhm.
that's
I
very.
try.
I mean, that sounds like a form of meditation.
Yes. Usually I would say my method of meditation is through music or going
Mhm.
outside to nature by water and just being in the elements.
Mhm.
As far as meditation, it takes some time because my mind is always racing, but I have attempted a few times, and there's been a few times that I just lost control of it. And I was in like a deep, like, luckily my girlfriend was there. We were listening to some binaural beats, and I was just like,
Yeah.
what just happened? Because I felt like I was gone for like hours, and it
Wow.
was really only 10 minutes. But that's what I'm saying, the power of consciousness, when you actually able to quiet the mind, body, soul, and spirit, from what I mentioned earlier,
Mm-hmm.
that's when you hear the most voluminous messages and tap into your skills.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Wow. We've talked about so many things. I don't even know where to go with this. Uh, um, so you've spoken internationally, virtually on different conferences.
Yes.
What is usually the topic? Accountability is.
So there's various topics, but the three main topics is taking responsibility and accountability for your own actions, that you do have the option, choice, and free will at any age, any stage to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Achieving personal freedom through the healing power of forgiveness, especially forgiving ourselves. And then number 3 is victim to victorious, that anybody, whether it's a victim of a predator, abuse, bullying, or of your own mindset,
Mm-hmm.
there's victory on the other side.
Sure. I think a lot of people take it on as an identity, right? The
Right.
victim identity, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, okay, so good. You mentioned one last thing that I do want to talk about, and that is the self-love aspect of it.
Yes.
Okay, because I think that right there, I don't think you could really get very far in any spiritual journey without that. That's like definitely one of the basics. Do you have any words of wisdom, any advice for my audience as far as how you were able to achieve that? Because I don't think people even understand what it is sometimes.
Right. Self-love, and actually I learned this too, is being selfish. We have this, again, going back to words and spells. Selfish, we have this connotation of a negative thing. But think about it. You've heard it. How can it's the analogy of when, you go to an airport or go on the plane, put your mask on first before helping others.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be at your 100%, your best version of yourself, to help others.
Yeah.
And I was able to self-love myself to the healing power of forgiveness. All my life was like, oh my goodness, how can my mother and, my biological mother give me up 11 months, send me to America nonetheless,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
during the cartel? How can,
And you blamed yourself for that.
I blame myself for that. I blamed her for that. I
Right.
blamed also when my adoptive mother had passed in 2007. I blamed, God. I was like, seriously, can we, be careful what you wish for? Because I was like, what else are you going to give me? And
Right.
then I encountered throughout my life 3 times almost losing my life, coming to America, getting into a physical bullying battle that I was not able to defend myself because of my stature and a female during school, after at the bell rang at 3 o'clock after school hours. And then after talk about self-love, suppressing my emotions of the loss of my mother in 2007,
Mm-hmm.
not dealing with it. And then in 2016, being hospitalized for a week on my having stage 5 myasthenia gravis on my
Wow.
bed, not knowing what happened. Self-love is looking in the mirror and focusing and being grateful for what you have and who you are.
Mm-hmm.
and that every shortcoming, every area of improvement, every vice is a tool in your toolbox for the next journey that you have, the next path you choose, the next obstacle, project, or task that you do to be the light in somebody else's darkness.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. And so my finish would be, through the toughest times, miracles are made. I'm a living testimony. Through life's trials and tribulations, triumphs are won. I've been able to connect with people around the world. And finally, remember to follow your heart, not the herd, nor the hurt, for success, joy, and happiness are on the other side.
I love that. Beautiful. Awesome. Very awesome. Tim had responded, that's exactly the thinking, asking what I don't want that got me how now I have everything I never even knew I wanted.
Yes.
Yeah. Beautiful. Tim is a regular listener who has an amazing story. He's in Brazil. He's a beautiful wife. He just had a baby.
Oh, congratulations!
His story is also from victim to victorious. Absolutely. And that's beautiful. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to bring people on and share these stories so that they inspire other people. That's what it's all about. It was so awesome talking to you.
Thank you.
I will definitely be keeping up with you if you guys are feeling Andrea Andrea Mason.
That's the worst you could call me. That's great.
AndreaMasons.com is her website, and you can find out more about her there. She produces some really awesome video content, which is just that last. I got a little bit of chills when you were giving that advice. You get so passionate about what you're talking about. But that's the kind of content you'll see. I definitely recommend it.
My YouTube channel. I'm just a few shy of 1,000 videos of all different contents and different playlists. I just want to help people. That's all.
And that that is Andrea loves your name.
Hey, yes.
I think that is, man, if people when you experience that, when you help someone and then you're like, what just happened? I helped somebody, but I felt something, I felt something happen, and you heal yourself. I think that's what kind of leads people to want to live in service. And that's kind of what I'm feeling. And that's what I'm trying to create here with the live stream. So,
well, you are creating it through love, smiles, and laughter. And I'm grateful for the gift of time you've given me. And you are making this world a better place, because that's what it's about. Rising and uniting with consciousness, live, streaming it across the world. And thank you. I know we have connected some time ago, and you've been on my podcast. So check him out, Unleashing the Podcast Within, Michael Zinn. And thank you so much, because it's people like you who give me the opportunity to know that I'm not alone. This is a dream that we're pursuing. This is a lifestyle we stepped into. So for your greatness, I'm grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Do me a favor, stick around in the back room. I'm going to sign off the show, and I want to just talk to you before you leave. But thanks for being here. We'll definitely have your back. And say goodbye to Andrea Mason. And we'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
I always love that. After I have a wonderful conversation with a guest, I always feel like relieved and so happy that you guys can be here and participate. Don't be afraid to participate if you come back. I would love the show to be more interactive. I think maybe I gotta prod people at the beginning before I even get into my conversation. I just jump into my conversation. I got to prod people to respond. I saw Jesse Howe came by. I was really excited about that. He's an inspiration. He has a great podcast. And Pauser is saying thank you for being here. I love that you come back and spend time with us and connect with us. I will see you next week. Who do I have next week? I'm going to bring up my calendar, because I always just say, oh, I forgot who it is. My calendar next week is True. Oh, True is the daughter of Leslie Slavin, who we had on the show, who I had no idea how amazing her daughter was. Her daughter's name is True. And True really, if you saw the Leslie Slavin interview, True became the truth of Leslie's life. The relationship they have is amazing. But True is also a performer, a model, a humanist. She just really loves the human spirit. So next week is the true story. The true story. I'm just going to say it's the true story. Thank you guys for being here. I see my mom out there. What's up, Hetty? Thanks for being here. It's good to see you. I didn't even know you were there. Say hi when you're out there. This way I know you're there. All right, guys. I will see you next week. Enjoy the new intro / outro, and I love you all. Bye-bye.
What is consciousness? The live stream of consciousness is on a quest to unravel the mystery of existence. Every episode, we ask the fundamental question that has captivated human minds for centuries. Is consciousness merely a product of our brains, or does it connect us to something greater? Explore the very fabric of our thoughts. Don't miss a moment. Expand your awareness and tap into the boundless potential that resides within you. Welcome to the live stream of consciousness.